Okay, folks, welcome back. And we're just going to pick up where we left off. Isn't that what I always say? Why would we pick up at a different place other than where we left off? Let's get some of these things out of the way here. Colors from that we won't be using right this second. And we're going to sit the Stewarts off to the side. I have not gotten a chance to seal them. The Stewarts that we finished up yesterday, except putting them on a base. Yeah, we're just going to set them off to the side. And we're going to take a look at, is this the last three vehicles? The last three vehicles that I got in Canada, which are the Stewarts. The Shermans. The Shermans from Plastic Soldier Company. M4A1 76s. 76W. The Shermans with the 76mm gun. And wet stowage. That's what the W stands for. And that's these three right here, which we need to customize. We need to make them all look special. And put markings and stuff on them. But actually, I have two books on the Sherman. And I'm going to take a look at both of them for some inspiration. And then I will also look online to see. These are the two that I have. I already have two of these that are not by the same manufacturer. These were already pre-built models. These two here. And they've been repainted. I believe they're by Altaia. And I got them at a estate sale a couple of years ago. I think 2 years ago now. And, we added some junk on there as well, which, we're going to do once they're complete. I got some junk that I want to add maybe on the Stewarts as well and the armored cars and stuff, but we'll worry about that until the end. We'll sweat the details at the end. But these are the two that are complete, and we'll have three more that join them. And these are from Plastic Soldier Company. They're similar in size. I think the Altaia ones are narrower. The turret is different. They're supposed to be the same shape, but they're not. But I don't sweat that little stuff on stuff like that. Mr. Lanchneck, welcome. Welcome, Bill. We're in Sherman territory. So these, as far as I was surprised that a couple things about the Sherman 76mm gun tank, they didn't come ashore at Normandy initially because they didn't want the supply problems of having 75mm rounds and 76mm rounds, which is, like to say is, if the U.S. had supply problems on anything, the Germans had a hell of a lot more of a supply problem. But for whatever reason, they didn't start showing up until July, as far as I know, which that was news to me. I did not know that. And they're the earlier ones because they don't have the, some of the later ones actually have the muzzle brake on there. So I want to take a look through here and make sure between these two things before we make a decision on exactly what we're going to do. And they are on the cast M4A1 hull. So not like this one here that is basically the same vehicle, but it's the M4A3 bottom on this one. This actually has welded sides, not rounded. Honestly, I like the welded look better. I think it's a little bit more, less unattractive, but, that's just, this is what they had available. So let's see what they have on the M4A1 76 that they say here. Hey, Marcus. Why don't they have that's M4A3 75? Okay, what about the M4? It's M4A1. I like Squadron Signal books the best because they just cut the crap. Okay, they tell you like what you need to know, and they give you these really nice line drawings like this one that shows like specifics to the particular vehicle that you want. That's an M4. Let's go to the M4A1s. Does it talk about the 76 millimeter gun tank here? No. Let's keep going. The late 75 millimeter gun, okay. What about one with a 76? Maybe have all the 76 millimeter gun tanks towards the end. M4A3 75, M4A3 75. Okay. We still have the Vanguard Osprey series book on it. Jumbo, okay. 76 millimeter Shermans. Okay, here we go. Yeah, this is basically the vehicle that they are right here. You'll be back in 15 minutes watching something. Okay. 76 millimeter Shermans. Although official tank doctrine placed the responsibility for destroying enemy armor with the Tank Destroyer Command, the inadequacy of the 75 millimeter M3 gun in engaging enemy tanks had become obvious. In response to pressure from ordnance and recommendations from units in the field and from the armored force, upgunning the Sherman was planned for the beginning of 1944. The T-23 turret was adopted, so the turret is totally different. That has a 76 millimeter gun in it. The M4 was not fitted with a 76 millimeter gun, but was reserved for the 105 millimeter howitzer armament. So this is talking about all the holes. The M4A2 was reserved for Lend-Lease. The Soviets got those, and the British got the M4A2s, and they called them Sherman 3s. Thus, the M4A1 and the M4A3 were the only U.S. service Shermans to mount the 76 millimeter high velocity weapon. These are M4A1s. Pressed Steel Car Company built 3,396 M4A1 76 millimeter wets from January 44 to June 45. Apparently, no records were kept indicating how many had VVSS and how many received the HVSS and 23 track. This is VVSS suspension, which is kind of the old school one. It just kind of looks standard to all the Sherman ones. If you want to look for one that has the modern one, I don't think I have it out here yet. I've got a cast. I have an M4A3 76 from Matchbox that I have not repainted. It has the HVSS suspension. Mr. David, welcome. What are your thoughts on the Sherman war game Snarl? I don't know. There's a Sherman war game Snarl? Let's see. Sherman war game Snarl. Snarl 2023, Snarling Badger Studios. Okay. $8. In this first issue, you'll find a microgame, Tanks for the Apocalypse. A quick, fun tank game for 2 to 10 players. Pilot your M4 Sherman tank through the post-apocalyptic American Midwest and fight against other Shermans in what's left of the world after the July 43 nuclear test went all kinds of wrong. Well, I've never heard of this before. I've never heard of this before. Now, as far as Sherman stuff goes, I have played quite a bit back in the day of Patton's Best. And Patton's Best was a solitaire game where you basically piloted a Sherman, and it was a solitaire game. And I didn't own the game, a friend of mine owned it, and we would play double blind. So, in other words, we would go through a mission with my tank, and the opponent would roll for all the Germans, and then we would flip flop. And we played that quite a bit, and they kind of turned that into a computer game by that Armored Commander game, which plays a lot like Patton's Best, except they've expanded that into, you can play Japanese, Italians, all kinds of stuff, French. That's a pretty cool game. It's definitely has retro graphics to the extreme, but it's a pretty good game. That's the only game that I've played like that. I think they make the people that make the solitaire games called I was gonna say Van Helsing. It's something like that. They make one. I think it's called Sherman Commander or something like that. That's the kind of thing they do. Like one on Rommel. They do one on Alexander the Great. They do a Napoleon one. Vassals. I don't know what it is, but they I know that they make a Sherman Commander, stuff like that. I don't have a problem with solitaire games, but I don't want to play a solitaire game when there's nobody watching it. The way to do it would be just to take turns, and that way you could suffer together. But just be like, hey, you'll never believe what happened in this game. You're right. I won't believe it, because you weren't there. That's the only Sherman games that. Oh, and way back when there was a computer game on the Apple that was like a Sherman tank, and you could. It kind of reminded me of remember that old video game called. What was that old computer? That old arcade video game from Atari in the late 70s, real early 80s. It was called like. You piloted like a freaking tank, and it was all like vector graphics and stuff like that. And that Sherman game was kind of like that. But it was for the Apple. I didn't have an Apple, so. Didn't have a Commodore 64 either. And I'm not a retro gamer, so I'm not like, oh, you can get one now. Like, fuck that. That'd be like taking my contacts out and looking at the screen. It would be blurry as shit. The two plants turned out 1923 M4A3 76 wet. Okay, so apparently they've made almost 3 times as many of this variant as they did the ones with the welded hull, M4A3. With the adoption of the 76mm gun and T-23 turret, the M4A1 also received the later cast hull with wet stowage, revised front contours, and the larger hull hinged to open out and forward to clear the larger T-23 turret. Many vehicles received extended end connectors because of 5% increase in weight with the new gun and turret. I want to see if it talked about when they started seeing them in action. Now, one thing that's interesting about these things is one paint scheme that always keeps coming up. Battlezone. There you go. Red had the same graphics as a Red Baron game. The first Red Baron game I knew about was it Red Baron 3D? Or maybe there was one before that one. From Dynamics. Battlezone, yeah. I sucked at it. I just sucked at those quarter games. The only game that was those quarter sucking games that was good is back when Gauntlet first came out in 84, 85, or whatever. Our local arcade in the mall, there was some older guy, and he kind of looked like the Gestapo guy on Raiders of the Lost Ark, except he wore an Indiana Jones hat. He was some middle-aged dude that was just there, and he was always playing Gauntlet. I think he played the elf, and when he was playing, he was basically the master of the team. He'd tell everybody what to do, and he was really good at what it was. But I only did well when you listened to him and he was in the game. But other than that, I really didn't do well in much of those quarter type things. But one of the schemes that they always show about this particular tank is one that has like this black swath. And apparently the 2nd Armored Division had black camouflage on many of their vehicles. And of course with that is you can't have the white star on it because it would defeat the purpose of the camouflage. But yeah, here's one of them right here. You can tell it's got the camouflage on it. So I don't think I'm going to find anything. Yeah, I don't have any I don't have any ideas for markings on any of these that are really like exciting. So we're going to put this one away and look at. I don't know when I got this book. I think I probably got this at still got the sticker on it. I certainly didn't buy it new. I probably got it at the used place at Jacksonville. Which if you find something there, it's damn near brand new. So I don't think I've even opened this. Here's an M4A1. 76 wet. This is from a Polish unit. Yeah, we're not doing Polish units. Sorry. I love the Poles and all that, but, if I'm going to do Poles, it's going to be in 1939. This is a French M4A2. This is another French M4A2. This is just a standard M4. This is an M4. This is Abrams command tank, supposedly. U.S. Armored Division in Italy, Tunisia, yeah, here's the difference in suspensions. Here's the difference between the VVSS and the HVSS. So this is the standard this is the standard type of suspension that you're used to seeing style-wise on all the Stewarts, the Grants, the Shermans, M10 tank destroyers. It's this style. It's actually not very attractive looking. It was effective, but it wasn't very attractive looking. This looks better. This is the HVSS, but it didn't start coming out until late 44. Yeah, this is the different. It looks significantly different. It's actually these vertical things that I don't really care for very much. I thought it was only the British Shermans that had the black camel paint. I thought it was more for breaking up the silhouette. The Shermans had the Mickey Mouse type thing. But in Normandy, the 2nd Armored Division had some of their Shermans painted with and I'll show that to you because we're going to look at some pictures. With the black camel. In Italy obviously some Shermans also had camouflage on them as well, but it's definitely the exception to the rule. So let's see if I can find the section on this particular vehicle. Oh, here you go. Bocage and breakout. Why do you hear an animal whining? I don't know. You're whining an elephant? Craziest paint scheme I've seen. The eyes paint on the front. Yeah, those are ugly. I don't really care with that tiger thing. It's like they're going to scare the Chinese with that, you know? Like, really? Don't you hate when you're hungry but nothing looks good to eat or nothing looks good to eat and be worth the effort? Well, if it involves cooking, it's never worth the effort for me. But, yeah, what's worse than that is if you don't have a sense of taste, which I haven't had that happen in a long time, but that's really annoying. Bocage and breakout. The armored divisions and tank battalions that landed in Normandy were equipped mostly with M4s and M4A1s, all with the 75mm M3 gun. In the second week of June, okay, so that'd be what, 14th or something like that, a special demonstration of the M4A1 76 wet, this one right here, was held for General Patton and several of the armored division commanders who were about to enter combat in France. Because remember, General Patton wasn't the first wave. Though impressed, the divisional commanders did not want the new tank since none of their troops had trained on it yet. They relented when Patton agreed to accept some if they were confined to a separate battalion. Interesting. What they still failed to understand was the difference in the Panzer Division since Tunisia in 1943. The divisions encountered in Tunisia and Sicily were equipped entirely with Panzer IIIs and IVs that could be dealt with on equal terms by the Sherman. Absolutely. At Anzio in February 44, the first Panthers began appearing in small numbers. In Tunisia, the first armored had faced only a single company of Tigers, and the other Tiger company on Sicily had been mangled by infantry and paratroopers. However, of the 1,608 Panzers in Normandy in the spring of 44, 674 were late model 4s, and 514 were Panthers. They were the equivalent of more than 3 experienced full-strength Tiger battalions in Normandy, though fortunately for the Americans they were mostly embroiled with the British near Caen. The frontal armor of the Panther could not be penetrated by the Sherman's 75mm gun at any range, although the Panther could easily knock out the Sherman from any practical range, sure. One of the first encounters between Panthers and the 2nd Armored Division led to the report that a Sherman had been knocked out with the German 75mm round going through the transmission, through the ammunition rack on the whole floor, through the engine and out the rear. After a few of these incidents, there were no more reports of any reluctance to take the 76mm gun Shermans. Indeed, there were howls of protest over the inadequacies of the Sherman, belated pressure to get the T-26 into action as quickly as possible, and cries from tank battalions for new, souped-up HVAP 76mm ammunition, which was only type capable of regularly achieving frontal penetration on the Panther. So at some point, for Cobra breakout, that's when it started being available. Well, that explains why I was hearing animal whining was my cat who somehow got in here. I thought you were hearing stuff. You were hearing your own cat. Gene McCoy from Wargamers Digest told me none of his Sherman unit could take out a Panther from the front. They had to maneuver to hit flank or rear or hit the bogies or tracks. I gotta go eat dinner. We'll probably watch the Musty Wargamer show later tonight. I don't know what that is. Musty Wargamer show. Sounds like something that takes place in a basement. Okay, so that was pretty useless. So, seeing how I am a master's in Google Foo, see if I can find this camouflage scheme for you. So we're going to do a search for M4A176W, and we're going to go to images. And I will guarantee that here's one right here. I'm pretty sure this is 2nd Armor Division. So it has no white stars on it, other than the roof. You got it on the engine deck there. Got an F-32 there on the side of the turret. Here's another one. That one's called In the Mood. No doubt they were a fan of that song. Here's a guy who's a modeler. He decided, like, fuck it, I'm going to put the white star on it anyways. And early on, they didn't have the muzzle brake like these. Later on, they started getting muzzle brakes. So I'm not going to do any that have that black camo because that's for a specific unit. Here's one right here. I don't know what vehicle this is supposed to be, but it's Blueprints Tanks, World War II. These were M4, yep, with a 76mm gun. You like that last one? Yeah, that's a good looking tank. The Shermans are really big. You know, I mean, they're not bigger than heavy tanks, but they're pretty comfortable as far as, tanks go. Here's one, here's a die-cast one from the Flying Mule. What's this one called? LOE. I've seen this one before. And there's that black. All these are M4A176s. So this is one apparently from the Utah Beach Museum. Okay, so what's wrong with this picture from Utah Beach Museum? Other than, I'm pretty sure I've never seen a star with a circle around it on the side, ever on a Sherman. Or on the side of the turret. It would only be on the roof or maybe on the front of the hull. But this is a HVSS suspension. This is suspension that wasn't around when Utah Beach was landed. And that's a 76mm gun Sherman tank, which wasn't around, which none of them landed on Utah Beach. Or maybe they landed at Utah Beach and then, in July or whatever, and then they went to the front. But the HVSS didn't start coming out until, September, October, something like that? So this one is an M4A1, as you can tell because of the rounded hull, cast hull, and which the HVSS suspension with a 76mm gun. You're still saying the Sherman Firefly is the best looking Sherman. I think the Super Sherman looks even better with the 105. I think the Israeli Super Sherman with the 105 is just sexy looking. It looks really, really good. But as far as the World War II one, I would say so. First 76mm gun unit must have been successful. The rest came to France and doled out one or two to a platoon of the company. That's a later gun mantlet. Yep. Yes, it is. Yes, you are correct, sir. Ha ha. Yeah, it's like this one. That's an M4A1 with the HVSS suspension and the muzzle brake. Which, it looks better with a muzzle brake, I think, but So there aren't a lot of really good ideas here either. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my little fan called Scalemates. This is the kind of stuff I'd be doing on my own time and not while you guys are watching, but I didn't do it. So, so we're going to go to Scalemates and we're going to do a search for M4A176W and see what kits they have for that. And then we'll look at the instructions. Okay, here's one from Dragon, and I don't care that they're in. I don't care that they're in 1/35th scale. That doesn't matter to me. So here's one from Dragon, and it looks like it's got that camouflage on there. What do I think about the Cromwell? I'm not a fan. I don't think it's better than the Sherman in anything. It's a little faster, but I mean, the Sherman was really reliable. I mean, the Sherman was a very reliable vehicle. So let's click on these instructions, see if there's any instructions here, what it gives you here. 2nd Armored Division, 2nd Armored Division, 3rd Armored Division, 3rd Armored Division, and one for Polish. Okay, so give me some instructions and hopefully they're in color. And we'll see what decals come in there. Oh no, they're black and white. Dadgummit. Okay, here is the Polish one. All right. 2nd Armored Division, France. It's got the camo, and here's Eloise. Apparently that's a famous vehicle, Eloise, and she's there. Okay? Moving on to the next one. What do we got here? F Company, 33rd Armored Regiment, 3rd Armored Division, Belgium 44. Again, there's that F-32 on the side of the hull. It means it's F Company. So it's kind of like the way the German tanks were. Except the German tanks are all 3 numbers. First one is what company it is. Second one, what platoon. Third one, what tank in the platoon. For the Americans, it's F Company. It's the third platoon and the 2nd tank in that one. That's how that works. And by the way, what is this one called? Ferocious 3. F-32 is Ferocious 3. Here's the In the Mood here. Also 3rd Armored. And what's it called? Oh, In the Mood. Durr. And then Duke. Duke is this one, but there's no turret number on it. What I'd like to see is if, we've seen that I want to put some numbers on these guys. Like these two are asking for turret numbers on the side of the turret. So if there was an F Company, there certainly was a B, a D, a C. That's all we have on that. So let's see. M4A1 VE Day. Hobby Boss. Let's see what the Hobby Boss one has. Download the instructions. Oh, these are the wrong instructions because here's an M4A3. How long did it 76mm? I have no idea. Oddly enough, when I got back into model building, the first thing I built was the Tamiya 135th Cromwell and used the decals to make it part of the Guards Armored Division for Market Garden. I don't think the Guards used the Cromwell. I'd have to look. I know that the 7th used the Cromwell. I know that the 11th used the Cromwell. And the 79th is all kinds of weird shit. I think the Guards used the Sherman. Now, they may have had an armored reconnaissance unit that used, that had Cromwells in it, but I'm pretty sure the Guards was a Sherman unit. Now, this is the wrong instructions for that. Somebody uploaded the wrong thing. Rubicon models. Never heard of her. Oh, these are the people. Oh, of course I've heard of them. These are the people that I'm jealous of. Because people that play 28mm get these cool things with all kinds of markings. These guys should have lots of markings on them. Let's see what we got on here. Except they don't give you any. Not in these instructions, they don't. Here's a Dragon 1 and 1/72nd. I suspect it probably has the same vehicles. Yep. Okay. The Hasegawa Monogram 1. That's a really big. That's a really big kit, 1/72nd scale. This has one marking in it. No markings other than the freaking stars. Okay, well, it just may. I want to look at all the options before I decide, F it. I'm going to make my own. Nothing there. Nothing, 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 nothing. Nothing there. Okay, then there's decal sets. This one from Star. M4A1 Wet Stowage 76 Sherman in Europe. All right, what do we have here? Here's your 2nd Armored Division 1. Duke. Here's In the Mood again. Oh, In the Mood is actually I-34. So it doesn't have I-34. Where is that? It's on the back. Looks like it has the turret numbers on the rear. I-34 on it. Here's a C-21 from the 5th Armored Division, and it's camouflage as well. Interesting. Here's a Sherman decal set, a 1/72nd scale. They got decals for D-32, Derby, and F-32, which I believe is that Ferocious 3 or something. Is it Ferocious 3? Yeah. Somebody had a tank called Ferocious and got several of them knocked out from under them. That's what that sounds like. French ones, we're not building them as French. Okay, let me get a refill on the drink, and then we're going to figure out what we're going to do for markings. But we're definitely going to put turret markings on these two, for sure. We're going to get all 3 of them nicknames. It's funny because these don't have nicknames, but I'm probably going to go back and redo them. It's nothing to go back and add a little detail like that. So hold tight, I will be right back. You cannot find what you're looking for. I know damn well the guard's armor had Cromwell's on Market Garden. I'm not so sure. I don't make this shit up. I thought it was strange. How can you not find that? You're gonna send me down a rabbit hole, but I don't mind. I bet I'll find that moment. Cromwell, tank, users, World War II. Cromwells were used as a main tank. The main tank is the important thing. The Cromwells were used as the main tank in the armored brigades of the 7th Armored Division while being used in the armored reconnaissance regiments of other British armored divisions. Guards Armored Division and 11th Armored Division in Northwest Europe. I don't. This was written by Phil Barker. This is a Phil Barker sentence right here. Cromwells were used as the main tank in the armored brigades of the 7th Armored Division, comma, while being used in the armored reconnaissance regiments of the other British armored divisions. I agree. I think we all agree on that. Comma, Guards Armored Division and 11th Armored Division in Northwest Europe. Does that mean that they were used as the main battle tank in the 7th, and then it talks about the recon, and then it goes back and talks about the guards and the 11th? I don't know. That's not how you write a fucking sentence. That's not how you write a sentence unless you want to confuse people. I have this info. This is the kind of shit I love. This kind of stuff, though. This is what gets my juices going. Let's pull out. I don't know if I'm going to get the answer here. British and American Tanks of World War II by Peter Chamberlain and Chris Ellis. And let's go to Cromwell. I wished every British unit used the Cromwell. But that's not the case. Oh, look what I turned to. Look at that big nasty. A T-34. A US T-34. Yeah, you can play that thing on World of Tanks. If you spend a lot of money. Or grind like a bitch. Sherman, light tank, Churchill, infantry tank, cruiser tank. Oh, it's definitely a cruiser. I don't like the Comet. I just don't. They should have put a 17-pounder in it. I know, it didn't fit. Challenger's kind of cool, though, because the Challenger's got a 17-pounder. All right, let's see. I don't think it's going to be mentioned in here. I mean, it's got worse armor than a Sherman. It's got the same gun. It's faster, but... And I would never do one with a white star on the roof. It's not an American tank. It looks wrong. Well, the picture could be mislabeled. I'm not trying to be difficult. It could be. The Cromwell first saw action in the Battle of Normandy in June 44. The tank equipped the armored reconnaissance regiments of the Royal Armored Corps. The tank equipped the armored reconnaissance regiments of the Royal Armored Corps within the 7th, 11th, and Guards Armored Division, while the armored regiments of the latter two divisions were equipped with M4 Shermans. The armored regiments of the 7th Armored were equipped with Cromwells. Okay, so at least in Normandy, the only one of those units that had Cromwells was the 7th. The 11th and the Guards both had Shermans in Normandy. Now they may have changed it. They might have like gotten more of them, and they started getting replaced, like for Market Garden. I have to look into it, but I'm not a fan of it. And I'm not a fan of it because I'm not really a fan of that 75 millimeter gun by that point. By the time in Normandy that comes along, in North Africa, I'd say the Sherman is superior to the Panzer IV. When you get to Normandy, a Panzer IV-H, its gun is better. That 75 millimeter gun on the German tanks better than the Sherman one. So I don't know. I just don't. I don't care for the. I don't care for the Cromwell. And I really don't like them with a short 95. You know. All right. So go back to. I don't know if that helped at all, but I love looking into shit like that. That's what I get excited about. All right. So we did all of the Stuarts as B Company, right? F is too easy. Everybody's doing F. F this and F. F this and F that. I'm going to do one more search, and I'm going to do M4 A1 76W decals. Okay? Because if there's going to be some. What do we have here? We've got. I'm looking mainly for the numbers because I want to make sure that the stencils, they have the break point in the right place, just like we did with these B's. You got to have a break point in the stencil because that's how it's attached to it. These are from Star. The eye doesn't have any split in it at all. Okay, so this one actually had the number on the rear of the turret. So this one that has the star on the side, we're going to put the number on the rear of the turret. Okay, so that's going to have the number on the rear turret. These two are going to have it on the actual turret itself. And we'll do it in yellow, like we did the other ones. There's evidence of a C21. So let's make all these C numbers, C names. Okay? And if I don't like it, I'll just freaking redo it. Not that big of a deal. Now, one thing we want to do is I want to put these USA decal things on them, because I figure that adds a little bit to it. And what I need to see is, are they one on top of the other, or are they one beside it? The lettering on them. I'm going to say I bet it's behind it. Because it's not very tall there to be able to put the USA on top of the other thing. So let's look at some pictures if we get our answer. Okay, that one has on top of the other one. Okay, that's Bonnie, B-15 Bonnie. That's 5 tanks and the thing. I think I'm not going to do any 5s. I'm going to do that last number is going to be as high as a 4. This one has no serial numbers on it. I don't mind doing them. So we already gloss coated that. We already gloss coated that. We already gloss coated that. So let's go ahead and put the USAs on there. I'm going to rinse this out and get some clean water. Oh, well, it helps if you put water in it. All right, let's get my US decals out here. I do put them away. I'm not a huge fan, and that's why I probably said the that those units didn't use the Cromwell, because I'm really focused on Normandy. I don't really care about Market Garden too much. I'm not a huge fan. Too many paratroopers for my liking. I don't know. Not a huge lover of paratroopers. I don't mean to disrespect the veterans. I'm just saying it's just not as interesting as if it was regular troops. Because the problem with paratroopers is they drop somewhere and okay, they don't have tank support, or they could very well not have tank support. And I'm interested in like the whole combined arms thing. I'm not going to be frugal. I'm throwing that one away. Let's get a new blade. We need to cut these things out. We want to make sure that we get a good cut. Uh-oh, what did I miss here? What did I miss? Grab books. It's been too many years since the model. Yep. Yeah, you just forget things. B Company would be Shermans. I think D Company was Stewart's. Well, it depends on what the unit is. Because those Stewarts had Bs. But on the examples. Thing is, I cannot for the life of me recall if I was doing the recon battalion, if it was an armor battalion. It just been too many goddamn years ago. Yep. Hello, sir. Hope you're doing well. You paying these cool tanks for a game or just for your own collection? Oh, collection just now. Yep. You're going to 135th Ryefield Sherman Firefly kit. Do one up for the Guards Armor Division for Market Guard. They definitely use those there. Absolutely. You hate the stupid ass hard march. Me too. I don't know what you guys are saying sometimes, unfortunately. There's nothing we're all suffering together. We need 6 of these, right? We need 6 USAs. A bloody heart emoji thing. These are micro-scale decals, by the way, which perform pretty well. Husa. And where's my super tweezers? I just put them away this morning before the Swiss tweezers that I cannot afford to buy any more of. I was like, oh, let me buy some. I'm like, they're how much? Holy crap. Now, how about we hold on to these? All right, let's get a tweezer to pull out a pair of tweezers. Irony much? I got way too much water in here, but anything worth doing is worth overdoing. Huh? You've been fascinated with the airborne since I was a young kid. First saw A Bridge Too Far. Sort of the only late war campaign I like. I don't like Normandy as much as Market Garden. I'm not interested in any of the German units that are there. They're freaking SS units. And those stupid Panzer brigades and shit like that. What was it? 9th is there? 9th Hohenstaufen. And 10th is what? Frundsberg? F those SS guys. I watched A Bridge Too Far relatively recently, and I wasn't impressed. I'd seen it before, but I'm like, it tried to capture too many things. And, I mean, it wasn't horrible. It's just not, I'm not like, ooh, Maybe 1977 when it came out. Microset is the one I definitely have to use. It's the one I definitely should be using. So what, next week we got that mini-series of the aircraft thing comes out, right? Whatever of the Air, Masters of the Air, or something like that. I gotta wait to watch that with my daughter. She said, don't watch it without me, Dad. I'm like, okay, I won't. I don't think I'm gonna like it, but I'm a difficult audience, I'll admit. I'm a difficult audience. I think it's the 26th, if I remember correctly. It's got to be better than Midway. God, I hated that Midway movie. And of course, I mean the modern one. God, I hated Midway. And my daughter didn't like it either. Of course, nothing is as great as my daughter's reaction to when we first watched Saving Private Ryan, and the reaction of the guy who's the interpreter, sitting there with a rifle and he doesn't do anything. She called him every version of, every kind of pussy name for him. You just got called out by a 15-year-old girl. Oh man. What a useless turd. I mean, she was literally angry watching that. It's like, it's just a movie. just You got your man card pulled by a 15-year-old girl. Sorry. Let's not drop it on the floor. Is there a good rule set? Well, it depends what you want. I mean, people are all over. Rule sets are just like music. You can have somebody like loves country music or somebody like myself that can't stand it. So it's a matter of taste. I'm pretty religious when it comes to World War II stuff. If I don't learn more about the weapon systems when I'm playing the game, I'm not interested in playing the game. So if it's too basic, it's just not for me. But I'm the exception. When it comes to World War II, I don't need it to move fast. I'd just rather play with less stuff. There was a post on one of the Facebook groups. It was one of the naval Facebook groups for sure that I'm a member of. And they said, I'm looking for a set of rules that's realistic but fast playing. I think those two things are mutually exclusive. I mean, then maybe if you look at it, maybe at the end of the day they might be realistic, but you're not experiencing any of the things that are happening if the game is too like zoomed out and vague, you know. So I've played the 1 to 5 scale games before. I'm not interested in playing them again. They just don't. They just don't. It boils down to a couple things. What narrative do you want the action to show? Think of it as a movie. Think of your game as a movie. What do you want the movie to focus on? Do you want the movie to focus on, vast sweeping movements of tanks and stuff like that and combined arms? Or do you want to focus on, like that Russian movie T-34, that you got a glancing blow on the turret and everybody's knocked out for a while? Do you want to know about those details that come in there? I personally do. So I shall inform the conventions up here that you shall not be up to playing Bolt Action or Flames of War. No, absolutely not. Nope. I'm just building models. See, for me I've got to play something that's going to motivate me to build more stuff for it. If that's what the intent is. Playing a vague game just isn't going to be like, well, why am I even making these tanks different? They all behave the same. Flames of War treats all German Panzer IIIs with a long barrel the same. Doesn't matter whether it's a J, an L, an M. They can get somebody else to play that. I'm not their market or audience for that. That takes the wind out of my sails. But for a grand tactical moving vast numbers round, simply do not get excited over commanding squads of troops. Just not for me. Well, the problem with moving grand tactical movings is the infantry aren't any fun to play. So then you end up in my experiences, nobody wants to play the infantry. Say you play Command Decision, which this is what I grew up playing World War II. If you have a unit of tanks, a battalion, that's about what everybody was running. About a battalion. Maybe you could run multiple battalions. Game's not that complicated. Not overwhelmingly so. And you have a battalion of infantry. The infantry just can't do anything to the tanks until basically they're on top of them. So if the other enemy tanks have any brains whatsoever, the infantry will just get shot before they ever get a chance to do anything. And that's just not any fun. You're basically playing a tank game then, So, and I'm a fan of Command Decision. I'm not poo-pooing it or anything. I just think that, it's just not very exciting to play with infantry, So, okay. So we got turret numbers, and this one we're probably going to put it on the hull, not on the turret. So we know that's not a problem. What happens with the turret number when you have the hatch here where you spit the spent casings out? What happens when there's a number there? Oh, and here's a I-35. Okay, the number is in front of it. I is just too big a number. Too big of a letter. I is just too big of a letter. So we did B's on those. We're going to do C's on these. Now, I'm going to look something up because the name you have to use needs to be appropriate with the time period. So in other words, you don't want to name one tank Teabagger because that shit hadn't been invented yet. Okay? So it needs to be appropriate with something that was around in the 1940s. Okay? So I'm going to do a search for something right now. I'm not a fan of... I don't know old movies. But I'm pretty sure... Yep. That James Cagney was an actor. I'm going to call one of them Cagney. So one of them's going to be Cagney. Not that I've seen any of his movies. Sorry, they're black and white movies. I'm out. The beauty of Command Decision is you do not need to use tanks in every battle. You can make the scenario be a strictly an infantry fight. There's just not any... At least the versions that I played at Command Decision, they're no fun to commanding infantry. Sorry. Sorry about that. Should name another one Costello. That's period specific. All right, give me another actor or actress that starts with a C of that period. You people that watch old things. While I search actor. With C from, we'll do 1930s just to be safe. Chaplin. There you go. All right. Blammo. What do you got here? We got B12, B34, and Bruce actually doesn't have a number. Well, I don't have to put a number on all of them. But they used them on the side of the hull, and they used them on the side of the turret. So this one can have it on the side of the hull. Game evolved and changed drastically from the editions you played. The current edition is really nothing to the early ones. Hopefully it didn't get dumbed down. I think his to-hit stuff was really... I like the way he handled a lot of stuff. Tank on tank wise. The second edition is much better than the first one. Okay, so we've got a 12 and a 34. I don't want to use a 5. So we're going to do Cagney is going to be C11. Chaplin C23, Costello C. Costello's got 2 L's in it, so we'll put 2 2s. That's what we're going to go with. At least that's what we're going to go with initially. We could change it at any moment. All right. Not worried about... And these have a 50 caliber on the frickin' roof. A light frickin' cannon. Jumbo Sherman. Yeah, I was trying to... It's hard to figure out what units had the Jumbo Shermans. I don't have any. I'm not opposed to having any of them. They look pretty freaking cool, honestly. The mantling on them is pretty cool looking. So the question is, which one do we want to have the big number on the hull? Which number do we want it to be? I want it to be the one that's the most different from the Stuarts. So we have a B12 and a B34. We have C11, C22, and C23. Let's do the C11. Let's do Cagney's going to be the one on the hull. We'll do that one first. And this is the kind of stuff that I figure out behind the scenes, because I don't just arbitrarily do stuff. You know, I just, there's a purpose to it. There's thought that's put into it. Because I value my time. I don't want to like, man, this would have been a great idea if I'd done it this way. Let's get a little remnant. What'd you call me? Stupid remnant. We gotta paint the tracks. We gotta paint the tracks, and I think I'd rather paint the tracks now. Nah, I'm in the mood to frickin' do the writings, so that's what we're gonna do. All right, let's get a little bit of Liquitex here. I'm not mixing it 1 to 20. That's stupid and a waste of time. Let's get a little bit of black and the white. And Mr. Yellow. Your local tank restorer. Well, that's not something you normally see in the village. Who's that guy? That's Frank, the tank restorer. Had 3 shot-up jumbo Shermans from which he expected to make 1 good running vehicle. They're pretty rare. I mean, they're really rare as far as Shermans go. I don't remember how many they made of them, but they didn't make... They're pretty rare. And pretty sure they were attached to independent. They were independent battalions. You know, like 653rd Battalion, and then it got moved around and shit like that. I could name one, Claudette Colbert. Well, I don't know who that is, and I already picked my names. You're late to the program, man. Where you been? Where you been? When I was playing Patton's Best, I had a Sherman. When I was commanding, I named it Aunt Jemima. I don't know why, I just did. And my other buddy I was playing it with, he kept having his blow up. He was having issues. He was having issues. All right. So if we do a C, are there any breaks in the C? I figured there'd be a vertical one. Well, I'm not going to find one. I'm going to put a vertical one in there. And what I mean by that is, you know, you've got a C that looks like this. It's got a gap in it. You know, so this is C11, and the one that I saw in there has a top and a bottom to it. So it's going to be, you know, it's going to be like that. All right, so that's what we're going to do. All hands on deck for this one. So I'm going to start with a gray to build up the yellow on it. So I'm not worried about the gap right now. I want to get the C in the right place. All right, you don't like it. The hell's squeaking? Okay. C11. I sunk my own battleship. There you go. That's at the U.S. Navy. They got a lot more battleships. Do I at least know who Maureen O'Hara was? Sure. Claudine Colbert. Never heard of her. Sorry about that. Old movies from like the 40s. I don't know that I've seen. God, what movies from that? I've seen Maltese Falcon. That may be the only one. Three Stooges don't count. It's pretty safe to say the closer we get to modern day, the more movies I've seen. Although I haven't seen really any recent movies. Nor do I really have any interest in it. All right, now we're going to start mixing a little bit of yellow in there. Well, that would explain her name, wouldn't it? Henry Fonda with Drums Along the Mohawk, a great American Revolution film in the 1940s in color. Huh. Not a fan of Fonda. Sorry. I'm not a fan of a lot of those old actors. They just do one. Most actors do one thing. So if you don't really like what they're all about, you're going to have a hard time with them in other things. Okay. I can't be into everything. If I watch an old movie, I'm not doing this stuff. Let's add more yellow. Do it again. Henry got. Yeah, the other Midway. I need to see the older Midway. I remember liking it, and I'll guarantee I like it better than the new Midway. I really hated the new Midway. I really did not like the new Midway. At all. I thought Pearl Harbor was better than the new Midway. Pearl Harbor at least had Kate Beckinsale in it. Like, that's a win. Favorite old time actor? What's old time? Pick a time period, like before 1960. Also had Jennifer Garner in there as well, which is kind of an annoying actress. You sure about that? She doesn't do anything for me. Jennifer Garner doesn't do anything for me. I don't think she's very controversial, at least. What's early actor? Before 1960 or before 1950? Golden age in Hollywood, 30s and 50s. I don't have one. I just don't. That's way before my time. I have no interest in watching stuff from that period. It's too freaking early. Yeah, I like Jimmy Stewart. I like John Wayne, even though I'm not a Western fan, but Bogart Bogart's too New Yorky for me. I hear people with that accent and I'm like I tune it out. I'm like people like that. People don't talk like that. It's just like another planet. So I'm not a Bogart fan. Errol Flynn. You know who I need to see? Live in the shadow of New York, so that accent doesn't bother me one bit. Yeah, it's like another planet for me. You know what movie I want to see? Actually, I want to see it again, but I want to show it to my daughter. Is the Three Musketeers? I know which Three Musketeers. The one from 1947, the one with Errol Flynn and oh crap, what's his name? Vincent Price's Richelieu, because that's the one that like all the sword fighting stuff's from. I remember watching that relatively late in my life, and I really liked it. And it's like vivid color. Um, yeah. Start seeing older movies from the 50s and 60s, and I've seen quite a few of those. But 40s, I'd struggle to name anything other than Maltese Falcon. I don't know that I've I don't know that I've watched anything other than that from the 1940s. And it was somebody else's suggestion that I watched it. I watched it with them. It's not something I would have picked up and watched on my own. Why do you struggle with those movies just with black and white? The black and white doesn't help. Um, my dad didn't watch them, which my dad would have been alive to see them, when they were new. Um, just doesn't appeal to me. I don't know. I probably no, that's not my stomach. That's the chair. This chair likes to bitch. You have a hearing problem. You have women's hearing. You have the hearing of a grown ass woman. Yeah, it's the chair. Chair bitching. Yep, already wore another chair out. You have the hearing of a grown ass woman. They can hear things you haven't even said yet. There's Rick. Rick, how many rings you got right now? What kind of jewelry you got going on? Rick had his ring collection. Holy smokes. This is like enough for a freaking squad of Space Marines. You've summoned the king of the nerd burglars without actually summoning him. Yeah, I didn't have to say his name 3 times. I can't wear my rings and paint. They get in the way. And I only do one on each. I got one on the ring finger. That's it. No pinky rings. Okay. If you're wearing a pinky ring, you're out. That drives me crazy. You look like a mafioso plumber with a pinky ring. I don't give a shit if you think you're Prince Charles. No pinky rings. And no more dice for you, Rick. There can't be that many dice that you like. I personally am not a fan. I just happen to have 2 of them here. I am not a fan of a couple things. I'm not a fan of. Here's one of the dice they did for our convention. This one was, I forget what it was, but it's has the big red 1 on it, right? Supposedly. I'm not a fan that it has pips in one color and the other things in a different color. And I'm also not a fan of marbled. I like solid color dice. I just do. This looks like a bowling ball. And I do like ones that are rounded. I don't like if the corners are too sharp. Like the old school D&D set. Remember that old one? And it came like in this blue putty. Actually, they were like this color, if I remember correctly. They were like this ugly ass color. Elf gray. Mood rings. They still make those things? That and pet rocks. You have some custom dice coming in that say Dicey Depths on them. They're basic black with white pips, but the words are on the one and always there's that damn heart. think of you. Well, you don't want them to come. Oh yeah, it's like, man, this game sucks. Well, maybe your game a one is good. A one is good in Axis and Allies. Maybe your game is like Axis and Allies. I know it's not. I know it's not. But our convention, that's what they would do. They had the logo. They had the logo on the one. So it's like every time you roll a one, it's like, great, this freaking convention, bunch of assholes. Here it is. The big red one is actually on the one. So you don't want it to come up unless you're playing Axis and Allies, which would be really difficult because I only have one dice. That would take a freaking long ass time. Okay, I'm attacking with 12 tanks. Oh shit. Missed. I mean, I ain't got all time. I ain't got all day for that. Ain't nobody got time for that. So the holidays just happened. And I know you got I know everybody got something given to them. What is the worst, and I'm not necessarily going to say something that somebody gave you, but in general, what is the worst thing somebody could give you? And I don't mean, a turd wrapped in a paper towel. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about, a legitimate gift. What is a typical gift or a gift that many people give to each other that if somebody gave one of those to you, it's like a recipe for this is probably not going to be something I like. What is that? And I'm just going to share one thing, and it was actually something that my wife ended up getting me. It's cologne. I am the world's pickiest person where it comes to cologne. And the same thing, if I have to buy her some kind of a scent, it takes me forever and I end up not liking anything. I'm extremely picky. Extremely, extremely picky. There are things that I've liked, but finding new things, like, it's just very, very difficult. Don't buy me cologne. It's odds are I'm not going to like it. That's a recipe for disaster. Sadly, probably a board game. I'm typically pretty up to date with games I want, so if I haven't bought it for myself, I probably don't want it. Yeah. Well, it doesn't make you stink. Oh, man. And colognes change so much. There was a coworker that I had that he smelled great. Um, And I don't mean that in any kind of, inappropriate way, but he smelled really good. I'm like, dude, what are you wearing? And he finally told me what it was. And it's like, all right, well, I'm not going to wear it to work. He was wearing cologne to work. I don't know why. I'd work in a construction job. That would be stupid. That would be like showering before you come to work. But you shower at night. So at least you're clean at night. And then, whatever, at work. But he told me what it was. I hunted it down. They had it at the mall. It wasn't super expensive. I forget what the hell it is now. Sprayed it, and I apparently ruined the smell because it changed for me, and I'm like, yeah, that doesn't smell like the previous one. So they change when you come in contact with them. So yeah, don't go buying me cologne. It's just real personal. The other thing is when people buy stuff for you to put in your house as decoration. My mom has a house that's full of stuff. And it's full of stuff like when, a friend of hers went to some other country that she's never been to and brought her back something from that country. Okay, well, mementos like that are made for the person that went there to buy something there, to put it in their house somewhere to remind them of a trip. I don't want a memento in my house about a trip I didn't fucking go on that I have no memories of. I mean, think about it. It doesn't make any sense. So the next thing my mom has this area, like, she's got, like, all things from Central America on one wall, and then things from Mexico, and then, Central America other than Mexico, and then South America, and then Europe, and then she's got this thing that somebody brought her from Israel, and I'm like, but you never went to any of those places. I don't understand why people would do things like that. Literally, the best gift you can give somebody is alcohol. It's absolutely the best gift you can give somebody because it's consumable, and it's kind of cool. It's something you wouldn't buy for yourself necessarily, but. Sorry, none of my friends are in here, but 3D printed knickknacks. I have no room for those 3D printed objects with no real purpose, just to collect dust on a shelf. Do you dust your own house? Because you got a lot of shit, man. You gotta, your Lego room's gotta be like, that's a pain in the freaking ass to dust all that. Also, 3D printed dice. Believe it or not, somewhat selective about the dice, and there's no way I'm going to trust the balance of dice printed on your 3D printer. It's gotta be better than shuffling cards. I just don't trust anybody shuffling cards to get a good randomization. I'm a dice card shuffling skeptic. You've created your own category. Dice card shuffling skeptic. And I hate shuffling cards. There's some people that hate rolling dice. I hate shuffling cards. I suck at it. I've watched several videos. I'm giving up. I can't be good at everything. I can't shuffle. I can't shuffle. And of course, this is going to get weathered over it. We don't really live in that age anymore, but another thing that would probably be really bad for me would be music. Because there's a lot of music I just can't stand. Just, it just is, Are all the Too Fat Lardy games done with that same card mechanic? I've never played one. How fat are those guys to be calling them like fat lardies? Because they're gamers, so like a fat lardy gamer is like an extra large size person. I don't know. Is that one guy Richard one of them? I like him. I've seen lots of videos. I think he does a great job. I'd love to play a game with him. I think it'd be all right. He's not fat. I gotta show you guys something. I can do that here relatively easy. Somebody posted this today, and I about peed myself when I saw it. I found it extremely funny. It was a meme here. Okay. All right. I'm gonna show you the picture here, and then I'm gonna read you what it is. Here's the picture, in case you can't read it. British, conquers half the planet just for spices. Also, British food. I thought that was freaking hilarious. I almost peed myself. I've been on lots of cruises, and they've got these damn beans that they eat for breakfast. And, they're baked beans. And I like all beans except these things. I hate baked beans. It's the only bean I don't like. Um, that is freaking hilarious. Oh, oh man. And I love our British cousins. Well, they're not literally my cousins, but you know what I mean. I mean, they could have been my cousins, but they got all uppity in 1588 and didn't want to listen. All right, C11. And instead of going hog wild and doing a bunch of them, we're going to finish one of them. So this is going to be Cagney. So when we're going to have a long number down here, we're going to write Cagney up here at the front. And there's certain smells that just bug the living crap out of me. Anything that's musk, I just can't. I hate the smell of cinnamon. As if I wasn't already in a pissy ass mood, I went and spilled my damn cereal all over the place. I'm a bit late for breakfast, pal. I know. I've had cereal for dinner many a time. I've had ice cream for dinner many a time. Of course, I was much younger. I remember in my early 20s when I lived alone. Well, I didn't live. No, I didn't live alone. This was when I had a roommate, and we ended up going to the grocery store, and I ended up buying a half gallon. Back when it was a full half gallon of Breyer's peach ice cream, and I ate it in one sitting. And what I mean by I ate it in one sitting, I mean I opened the lid, and I ate the whole thing without closing the lid back up and putting it away. You know, the good old days of having a metabolism. If it was anything with raisins, you did yourself a favor by spilling it. It's just grapes, man. They're just dehydrated grapes. So you're like my wife. You can't stand Raisin Bran. And when I was a kid, I got whatever cereal was on sale that my mom brought. So I got to eat all kinds of weird cereals that nobody would buy. And Raisin Bran wasn't that bad, but I wanted more raisins and less bran because the bran just turns into caca, you know. Lucky Charms, they're magically delicious. Speaking Lucky Charms, a felony. My bet would have been Cheerios. Cheerios suck. I remember one time I'm like, oh, a whole cereal that's granola, because granola tastes great, right? Especially in the '80s, it tasted great. Right now they got all kinds of funky granola things. You know, they got some granola. It's a little too granola, and I'm like, oh, grape nuts. It's like a whole. It's like eating fucking dirt, man. That's like baked dirt. It's like Adobe dirt. Good kids cereals. Captain Crunch. Captain Crunch, Fruity Pebbles. What else is good? I mean, I don't buy those things. I'm just, they taste good. Not Crunch Berries, none of that shit. Just a regular old Captain Crunch, scour the top of your roof of your mouth kind of stuff, old school. What else? Apple Jacks. I don't like cinnamon stuff, but Apple Jacks is good. That's not true because some cinnamon cereals are okay, but cinnamon gum, you can just throw that right out the window. And those stalks of cinnamons they have in store, I mean, it's just so damn pungent. I'm out of Cheerios and was annoyed to discover that I normally wouldn't eat sugary cereal, and here I go again. The Honey Nut Cheerios are okay. It's just the standard Cheerios suck. It's like cornflakes, you know? You loved SNL's cereal parody with gravel. Oh, I don't remember that one. Was it Grape Nuts Gravel cereal? Honey Bunches of Oats. Man, Honey Bunches of Oats are good. Which is it? Great Grains makes some great ones, but the problem is that you just can't stop. You pour, and the problem is my serving size cereal is I take the big bowl and it's like this. So, how many servings is that? Probably 5. You know, I can't have cereal. I shouldn't have cereal. I can't have cereal. I just shouldn't have it. Cagney, huh? Oh, I'm using the wrong fucking brush. I need to put a stop to that nonsense. Where is the brush to end all brushes? Rick, did you ever trade in that metric fuck ton of metal you have? You're too attached to stuff you'll never use. You need like a drill instructor come in there. That goes in the garbage can. You haven't played with that in 3 years. Forget that. You didn't even know you had that thing. You know. Rick does paint more than Mitch, so. Does anyone else in your gaming group actually paint? No, whatchamacallit paints very well. Let me think of what his name is. Oh, shit. Ah, fuck. I mean, I haven't played with him in a long time. What's his name? What's his name paints? And he builds models. Drawing a blank here. Don supposedly paints, but Joel paints. Joel definitely paints. Randy's the one I'm thinking of. You know, Randy he even takes like the reins off the horses and shaves them off and then puts wire on them. So yeah, he's into the intricate stuff. Most people don't paint though. Most people don't paint. They just, oh, it takes too long. That's how I feel about cooking. It takes too long to cook. I'm just going to have something else and just shove it in my mouth. You know? I need the time to paint. All right, let's move to the front over here. We got to do this one backwards so that have the right spacing off the front. And cooking is easier than painting. Not for me. All right. Yeah. I just don't want to spend an hour cooking and then it takes me 5 minutes to eat. It just does not very practical for me. That's why I don't do it. I think I'd be decent at it. I definitely appreciate all kinds of different flavors, so it's not like I'm a meat and potatoes guy and that's it, you know. Okay, Skyman. But I cook about as much as Rick does. Whatever that means. All right, let's look at it. Let's look at a tank number on one of these things. M4A176W. Oh shit. It's 1011. Images. Give me some serial numbers, damn it. All right, we're going to fudge this number here. And we're going to change one so that the serial number police can't come after you. I saw that serial number. It actually belongs on a Lee tank. Okay, nerd burglar. All right, we're going to start in the 7 in the middle. So the middle number is an 8 over here. Nope, that didn't turn out too well. Wipe it off, start over. All right, what's in front of the 8? A 7. We'll replace that with a 1. One, 1, 3. What's in front of it? 301. And of course, it's going to be weathered over it. Hey, Greg, am I on for much longer? I'm glad you could wake up. Probably 15 more minutes. I turned my zoo into a SeaWorld park. Okay, middle number is a 8. Let's put an 8 there in the middle. Well, one thing's for sure, after doing these 7 serial numbers, I'm certainly not scared of putting the T numbers on the British vehicles whenever we get around to that. Eight. 113. Now, the weekend is almost upon us. Have you ever been to an aquarium? Who hasn't been to an aquarium? I mean, I guess it's possible, but it's like asking somebody, have you ever ridden a bike? I don't know. Maybe I live in Florida. I take it for granted, but you've been to the one in Baltimore. It's quite nice. I mean, once you're inside, right? Because I mean, outside you could get you could get shot at. Baltimore's a rough freaking place. They're going to move the Historicon to Baltimore one year, and then they backed out of it. I think the story on the street is that they found out that all the vendors the convention, the center where they did it, all the vendors had to use they couldn't unload their own equipment. They basically had to use workers there at the convention and then pay them, umpteen dollars an hour to do it. SeaWorld in Orlando. They have a new coaster there I haven't ridden yet. I'm a coaster fan, in case you guys don't know. Love coasters. I hate flying. I love coasters. A lot more light. You bet. Look at this. We still have enough light. So this just adds a little bit of oomph. Yeah, the new setup has one problem, and that is I have this pocket door that leads out to the kitchen and really the rest of the house. So if there's people out there, it's not very sound dampening. Other than that, it's better than the other one in every way. Okay. Let's go ahead and let's finish this guy instead of doing all the other ones. Let's go ahead and paint the tracks. These are well, they got metallic parts on them. So that's what we're interested in getting first, and then we'll do the rubber blocks if it looks like they have that. Where is the German SS camo? Here it is. The German SS Camo Black, as they like to call her. That's what it used to be called. You're a coaster fan, but I cannot ride them without your neck. Yeah, that stinks. Patriot always. I have not posted War Games yet, as I haven't played yet. Sometime in the near future, maybe. Right now, we're just building them, just like the guys that do 1/35th scale models and never do anything with them. Hey, Tony, maybe you can answer this riddle. But in your older games at Mitch's house, why is it like in every one of those videos, someone is always doing dishes extremely loud? Because our play area was in his main living room, and that was his wife that was out doing dishes. That's why. That's the older videos. That's the we don't have a soundproof room to do them in. When we first started gaming, my house was significantly quieter. But then we had to switch to his house because he went and had a kid late in life. Again, so I think his daughter is like close to 13 years old or something like that, and his next youngest kid is like 35 or something like that. So I don't know how old Luke is. I'm going to say 35. He's in his 30s. So, yeah, there's always background noise. Hey, you get what you pay for. It's either that or no video. Just like a couple times I wanted to paint and my daughter had friends over. Well, I'm sorry there's a sound, folks, but it's either that or no video. You're having lunch. During many of my DBA posts. They were fun to do. Lunchtime. I'm ready for lunch. I gotta have my 3 breakfasts before I have lunch, though. Someone's always doing dishes, yeah. She's got all day to do dishes, and she does them when we're freaking playing games. Inconsiderate woman. It's the uppity dishwasher. I don't cook, so no food for me. I've never gone hungry, man. I've never gone hungry. And my wife will leave and I will raid the pantry, all kinds of things that are, that don't go together, crackers. Just put it in my mouth just to shut it up. I don't have time to cook. I need that time to paint. I can't be into everything. Hey, by the same logic, people that don't paint figures, miniatures, don't get any toys. Oh, you don't paint. Sorry, you don't get any. Should we be worried about consuming cleaning chemicals or near the pantry? No. I'm old school. We're before warning labels. You don't need that shit. Hey, if your kid consumes chemicals, they're never going to grow up old enough to work at Burger King. No what? You don't get any miniatures if you don't paint them? Start painting, Rick. You painted stuff. You painted several things. Good thing you paint and cook. There you go. I've been really happy the way this color looks for as a base color for the metal, like the old rust. And it's just a really, 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 really dark brown. And when you dry brush the colors that I dry brush on, it actually works really well. Or I'm happy with it. Painting yourself? There's probably a YouTube channel for that. I'm sorry, there's probably an OnlyFans for that. So we're going to finish this one all the way through, and then we'll work on the other Shermans. Well, we got to get this track painted, and then we'll weather, and then we'll put the tools. I really don't like painting tools and then weathering them, because then you're painting the tools is like an opportunity to have some things in a different color that stand out some from the tank, and if you just dry brush over them too, then you just undid that. So it's just an opportunity of just being able to have something to give a little bit of color. Doesn't have to be wild, but it's better than the whole thing just being drab. It was an executive decision to do that, so. Am I mistaken? But weren't you going to get laser cut MDF stands for your paints, or did you decide against that? Oh, I did get one. And I was going to do a review on it. I did an unboxing on it and still haven't done the review. But here it is. And it holds 218 paints, Vallejo style paints. I forget the name of the company that makes it, but I wouldn't recommend it. It's literally the hardest thing I've ever tried to put together in my entire life. It is, and it has to do with the fit is too tight on it. It took me longer than it should have. But it works great. I mean, I love it. But, when I struggle with doing something or putting something together, I'm like, I can't recommend it because I feel like I'm more patient than most people. So if it ends up like being really frustrating, I'm like, yeah, you're probably not going to be able to handle that. You're going to get really frustrated doing that kind of stuff. Calling for another 4 inches of snow tomorrow. Wow. And one guy I know on Facebook was showing me pictures in Houston or whatever. Houston got like under freezing conditions, and they're not prepared for that. They're definitely not prepared for that. What's the temperature where we were in Canada? I bet it's 40 degrees colder than we were there. Which I would have loved for it to have been colder, but I don't want icy roads. Okay, it's 49 degrees here. Not centigrade. You guys figure that stuff out. It's negative 14 in Banff right now. Nah, we had a great trip. It all worked out. Hey, even brought some tanks back. A new cutting mat? Yes, a cutting mat that we don't cut on. What do you use the craft paint for? Terrain? I don't use the basing because the basing that I've used is a triad inspired or directly stolen from Flames of War. And then I would have to match the colors to the other colors that I already have. And it's like, okay, I'll just use Vallejo to paint, the basing on them, and it'll be fine. It'll be fine. So this is where we're going to stop. It's 10:30 Eastern Standard Time. And cutting mats, yeah, I actually have 2 cutting mats. I got one here and I got one on the other side. So that's the model building side. So we'll go back to that. We'll build models when it's time to build models. I still have some T26s to put together. So I refuse to use expensive paste for basing, but that's just me. Yeah, well, I probably would use the cheap paint for basing, but I don't want to do the color match thing. But this is where we'll stop off here with this. We'll pick this one up next to do some dry brushing on it, tie it all together, and yeah, go from there. As always, 10 degrees Celsius here in Armado. Okay, folks,